All right, guys. So here we go. It begins. Mamdani takes NYC, and he's not only openly threatening Trump to go to war with Trump, but he's threatening traditional American values. And they're going on and on about, the city that Trump's from, NYC, that is now taken over by the far left, and that civil war is just around the corner for sure. Tons of people fleeing NYC, going all over the country, just getting out of NYC. And we've got places like Texas warning about straight up embargoes, like against NYC. This is civil war. This is splitting us down the middle, turning state against state. There's no other way around it. We saw a little bit of this before with California and Texas. But no doubt Texas taking the move here against not only NYC, but it's going to be anybody that follows with the same move. Now, you've seen Trump go and do whatever he wanted in terms of these National Guard troops, and they made these new teams, these new strike teams, 500 in every state. They can be snapped up and they can be used for whatever he wants at a moment's notice. So NYC has not seen an influx of troops yet. They've yet to send the National Guard or make a big move like they did with Chicago, like they did with Southern California, like they did DC. We haven't seen it yet in NYC. But we're about to. We're about to. And a lot of this from here on out is obviously going to coincide with other events that are going to pop off. As soon as they start these strikes from Venezuela all the way up through Mexico to our border, it's going to change everything. Everything's changing rapidly. But with this win and this basic call for war against Americans, traditional American values, let's see where this goes from here. But it sure looks to me like here it goes. They're pushing it full scale. You're going to see more states jump on board following Texas going against NYC here. And this is it. This is the setup that they've always wanted, to run state against state and to get their civil war one way or another. So that's some of the latest. It goes a lot deeper. Join me for the live streams where I talk about this in greater detail. Going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim B'Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noah's in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, wherever they may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. Empower Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Going into Civil War. With Civil War, just doing a Grok search on it. But Civil War goes into the division and the battling, or the local, or how can I say it, the domestic war between the citizens and the government, or the citizens. All right, Civil War, essentially going back into the first Civil War, you had the war between the North and South, based on military. Then you had slaves and corporate shit going on. You had a bunch of division going on in the first Civil War, which the first Civil War, it was a cakewalk compared to what's getting ready to come. Now, when you type in the Civil War and get history on it, it breaks it down from 1861 to 1865. Given the context, it says 1861 to May 26, 1865, which is 4 years, which is the Union States versus the Southern and Federal States, or the Confederacy. This is why you have some people flying Confederate flags. But it says loyal to the U.S. federal government versus Confederacy, Southern states that succeeded from the Confederate States of America. It says the core issue was slavery. Okay, because you had in the North and then the South, they still had slaves, but then in the North they wanted to free the slaves to be more contractual, right? But it says expansion into new territories and its role in the South economies and culture, because they looked at it like, well, we can make them corporate slaves, we can make more money, because that way we pay them and they buy back into the system versus you just beating the shit out of them and they dropping dead and you don't make any money. That's a underlying theme of it, you know. But reality of it is that was the consensus of it. But it says other factors included states' rights, economic differences, industrial north versus agrarian south, and political power. Okay, it says 620,000 to 750,000 deaths, which was a lot for that time. And this civil war is going to be millions. All right, but it says making it the deadliest conflict in U.S. history. Total combatants 2.1 million and Union 1 million Confederate. Okay, so 1861 war kicks off with Confederates firing on Fort Sumter in South Carolina. 11 southern states succeeded. Then you had 1862, which is the bloodiest single day in U.S. history, which was 22,700 casualties. All right. Then you had the Battle of Gettysburg, which the Union repels Confederate invasion of the North. But Lincoln Gettysburg addresses redefines the war's purpose. All right. So when you go into the new concept of a civil war versus, you know, red states, then you got blue states. A good depiction of that was that movie Civil War that was directed by I think, did Zack Snyder do that movie? Let me look it up real quick. Civil War movie. I don't know if it was Snyder or if it was another guy that did it, but he was a known director, but he produced it. Oh, Alex Garland. Okay, Alex Garland, that's who did it. I don't know where I got Zack Snyder from, but Alex Garland, he directed this movie Civil War, which was a pretty good war, man, all right, because the succession started in Texas and then it migrated throughout the country. But sooner than later, you're going to have pockets of these individuals that's going to go to war with their government because for the simple fact, you know, the indiscretion of the government, the impending on civil freedoms and the taking away of benefits, and we're seeing it as what Dabu was going into, which there will be class wars, race wars, civil wars, soon to be world wars, war against the have and the have-nots. It's going to be a fun time, as people like to say. But anyway, this is the book of 2 Esdras 15, verse 1. It says, "Speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in their mouth, says the Lord." And you go into the word prophecy, it goes to say before. It says, "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Now, the scriptures predict civil war. But going into this video, and even this movie, I mean, shit, that's what it is. I mean, it's on point. Okay? It says the setup. In Balkanize America, the third-term president, Nick Offerman, channeling a chilling folky authoritarian, has dissolved the FBI and bombed civilians speaking succession. California and Texas team up as Western forces against federal lawyers, while the Florida Alliance and other factions carve up its map. It says it's deliberately vague on why, but no partisan finger pointing, just raw. What now? And I mean, this plot explains itself because the country is in division right now, so we don't really need a definitive plot, because the plot, everybody's fucking pissed off, man. You know? So, long story short, shit, we there. You know? Which was a pretty good movie in my opinion. You know, if brothers hadn't seen that movie, I suggest them to catch it. But what are the likelihood? Hold on. Likelihood for another civil war. And you know, ChatGPT is kind of weird, man. You know, and this is where it goes off at, because it says likely of another U.S. civil war low, but the rhetoric is high. All right, but you can't really go off all this because I mean, this is just biased opinions, even though they give you facts. But nonetheless, it says the public fear is real and bipartisan. It says a June 2025 YouGov poll found it 40% of Americans think a civil war is likely in the next decade, while 17% of them says very likely versus 7% Republicans. Flipped from 2024 numbers. And I remember they did a study, or they did a poll test years ago asking how likely would the government or the citizens turn on their government, and I believe it was like damn near, I think they said 60%, if I can recall. It's been a while. All right, but it says Marist polls pegs at 47% overall, highest among Gen Z millennials, 58%, and Black Americans, 57%. But it says on X, it's hot topic. Delios, 35 to 40% risk get traction alongside doomsayers predicting 100 January 6 or slow crumble to Brazil's 2.0. Okay, so Hey, high 80%. Debt 130%. Yeah, it's highly likely. Everybody's divided. Everybody's upset. Everybody's broke. You know, ain't nobody got no money. People losing jobs. It's safe to say that Yahweh Shai is going to tilt this thing over the edge. All right, 2nd Esdras 15:14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. It says, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people should stand up to fight against another with swords in their hands. So people are going to succeed from their governments. People are going to succeed from their workplaces. They're going to abandon their religious beliefs. And they're just going to go batshit crazy, man, because, you know, like the apostles always say, when you don't have nothing to lose, you lose it. And when the food crisis and the famines and the shortages come, that's when people are going to, you know, reality is going to set in. People ain't going to be getting up going to work, man. They're like, the hell I'm going to work for? Like this. Hold on 1 second, Slocky. Yeah.
You'd be right in the other Chevy, right?
Yeah.
It is a 5.3 or this is the 3.8 with the supercharger on it?
Nah, 5.3.
5.3.
Yeah.
I know they made 2 different SS's.
Yeah.
This era,
yeah.
Which one was a 3.8 with a supercharger and one was a 5.3. The 5.3s are better.
Yeah, somewhat.
I have a 5.3 Silverado, so I know they're better.
Yeah, facts.
Can you get up quickly?
Fuck out of my face, man. I don't care. Anyway, it says, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people should stand up to fight against another with swords in their hands. And it says, for there should be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they should not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions stand in their power. So basically, people's not going to essentially give a fuck. All right, like people don't give a fuck right now. Like the men of the Lord, we don't give a fuck. I'm over this shit, you know. But we're waiting on these people because essentially, this is not our world. This is not our fight, and we are to maintain a spiritual approach and a spiritual outlook on all these endeavors. Though things will get physical, and some men of the Lord will be granted with the ability to you know, be on the threshing floor, Lord's will, you know. But retrospect, this is a battle of these people. So let them have it. This is their world. Fuck them. Let them all be destroyed. That's my motto. All right. These people, they don't profit anything. But it says, and a man should desire to go into a city and should not be able, for because of their pride, the city should be troubled. The house should be destroyed. Men should be afraid. And a man should not have any pity upon his neighbor, but should destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, meaning they're going to come in and they're going to loot your shit, necessities. Okay, it ain't going to be like no stupid jakes that loot TVs and video games and Jordans in the midst of a blackout. Hey, you got fucking 15 to 20 feet of flood water, you stealing TVs with no power. Like, what kind of nonsense does that make, man? That's craziness, bro. You know? Jake will literally go and rob a Foot Locker for 1,000 pair of shoes he would never wear versus getting the bare necessities of food, you know, shelter, clothes, and stuff like that. Now, I see if you robbing a store to get the fucking clothes, you know, the hoodies and the coats for the winter, but Jake will literally rob the store for a 75-inch TV, and he ain't got no power nor a crib to put the motherfucker in, man. All right, that's how stupid niggas are. But it says here, and the man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but should destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for a great tribulation. Great tribulation is destruction, man. Trouble, Jacob's trouble. We're currently in it, and it's going to intensify, you know. Next precept, Mark 3, and I'm going to start at verses... Oh, shit. Where we at, man? I hate when this happens. Let's do this. I hate when this blue out to do this. Let's go here real quick. Salakia. Matthews 12. Mark 3. Yep, let's go back to Mark 3 and get it here. So this is the book of Mark 3, and I'm going to start at verses 23, and it says, and he called unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand. but hath an end. Okay. Now you look at this whole thing with Democrats and Republicans. Guess what? They're both part of the same goddamn bird. At the end of the day, all right. They just give the people the illusion of freedom and that they have a choice, which then sends a ripple effect, and then people start to riot, cause chaos because of political differences. When reality of it is, both parties are fucking you sideways. And these people, they're too stupid to realize that because they're so invested. They're emotionally invested in a failing kingdom because this is Esau's glory. Okay, matter of fact, let's get that in the book of Habakkuk 2 and 15. Matter of fact, let's start at verse 16. It says, "For thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskins be uncovered. And the cup of the Lord's right hand should be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing should be upon thy glory." Right, shameful spewing, because the history of this place and slaves and the souls of men and the industries of killing people and murder, it's all been nothing but death in this man's kingdom. All right, from the foods to the water to the clothes you wear to the bed you sleep in to the women you sleep with, it's all death, man. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna end it giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Lord's will, you will edify. Shalom.